Summer breeze, make mind blowing in the jasmine of my mind. I don't know the words. Peace and blessings, family. It is always a pleasure to be here in this space at this time of life's love, connecting with you, for I am King, giver and receiver of a deeper wisdom. I honor the divine in you and those who have gone before us, which are our ancestors, and those not yet actualized, which are those who are awaiting and awakening into a higher level of conscious awareness, and those not yet born. And beside me is my beloved wife, Arlene Kahet, and Kahet is
the purifying light of God.
And we are here today to share with you Kahlil Gibran segment that says
Speak of talking.
Speak of talking. Now, if you noticed, the light seems to be in my eyes, and I'm like, why is this happening? And we are live. We are hearing voices from the past. They're sneaking up on us. And what I thought was interesting is the ones before would be speak to us of this, or speak to us of that. But this is speak to us of talking. And that's what we're doing now. We're talking. And speak to us of teaching. Well, speak to us of talking. And the scholar said, speak of talking. That's the difference here. Speak to us. There seems something different about it. But I feel that there is something different about this. Speak of talking. And as we are talking now, I guess we'll be speaking on it. And this is on page 60 of Kahlil Gibran's book, The Prophet. And I'm going to read this in its entirety, and then I'm going to read it in conclusion.
And the scholar said, speak of talking. And he answered, saying,
you talk when you cease to be at peace with your thoughts. And when you can no longer dwell in the solitude of your heart, you live in your lips. And sound is a diversion and a pastime. And in much of your talking, thinking is half murdered. For thought is a bird of space that in a cage of words may indeed unfold its wings, but cannot fly. I'm going to read that part again. Matter of fact, I'm going to go and start again. Talk when you cease to be at peace with your thoughts, and when you can no longer dwell in the solitude of your heart. You live in your lips, and sound is a diversion and a pastime. And in much of your talking, thinking is half murdered, for thought is a bird of space that in a cage of words may indeed unfold its wings, but cannot fly. Peace and blessings, Lamante. There are those among you who seek the talkative through fear of being alone. The silence of loneliness reveals to their eyes their naked selves, and they would escape. The silence of loneliness reveals to their eyes the naked selves. Okay. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
There are those among you who seek the talkative through fear. No, that's no fear. I apologize. Excuse me. There are those among you who seek the talkative, though fear of being alone. Is that though or through?
Through.
That's through. People, I apologize. I've been working all day and my muscles are aching and my brain ain't connected. So I apologize and I'm going to focus. I'm going to do this one more again. You say that's through?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay. There are those among you who seek the talkative. What's that word? Through fear of being alone. The silence of loneliness reveals to their eyes their naked selves, and they would escape. And there are those who talk, and without knowledge and forethought, reveal a truth which they themselves do not understand.
Okay.
All right. And there are those who have the truth within them, but they tell it not in words. In the bosom of such as these, the Spirit dwells in rhythmic silence. When you meet your friend on the roadside or in the marketplace, let the Spirit in you move your lips and direct your tongue. Let the voice within your voice speak to the ear of his ear. For his soul will keep the truth of your heart, as the taste of the wine is remembered when the color is forgotten and the vessel is no more. This was a deep message here, and we're going to have Arlene jump all in it.
So there's a spiritual teacher that I follow, and one of the things that he says is that he doesn't like small talk, because if you do small talk, when are you going to ever be able to get to a place of having deeper conversations? So I recall when I was younger, I didn't spend a whole lot of time talking and communicating about what it was that I thought, but it was interesting to be an observation of those who did, because there was a lot that was not being said by the people who were talking, or those people who talk a lot. And then I met a couple of people who, when they talked, it was like a vacuum, like they literally sucked all of the energy out of the space.
Wow. Yeah.
It's just, I have to say, it was just the strangest experience. And when I reflect on what is being shared here, one of the things that it says here is that there are those among you who seek the talkative through fear of being alone. One of the things that's really interesting about that passage is that there are people who cannot stand silence. And the reason for that, I imagine, has to be one of a few things, that they feel uncomfortable with the silence, or there is a part of them that doesn't want to be alone with the thoughts that they are having. They are not at peace. And so they fill the air, or they fill their space with sound, so that they don't have to face what that internal dialogue is.
Now, is that a funny thing that they're not at peace with themselves?
No, I don't think that it's a funny thing.
Because I caught your laughter. And
Well, the thing is that, it happens with such frequency, where it happens with such frequency with people that they're not at peace, and just, there are times when I'm like, even if you were to try to even entertain a deeper conversation about why is it that they can't seem to be at peace with their minds, it's almost as if that conversation is something that they look to avoid. I'm not really laughing because I find it humorous. I find it, it's sort of, it's disconcerting, and certainly from my perspective, kind of disheartening. So it's sort of me laughing to keep from crying.
I see. So let's aim at going at this thing at one verse at a time, because you say, you talk when you cease to be at peace with your thoughts, and that's what you just was expressing. So let's dive into that. You talk when you cease to be at peace with your thoughts. So peace is a place let us say, peace is a place that you have chosen to cease being because of your thoughts. That's what I'm getting here. You talk when you cease to be at peace with your thoughts. So there is peace with your thoughts, and then there is no peace with your thoughts. So what thoughts are you having that has inspired or directed your tongue or you to begin to speak? Because when you are at peace with your thoughts, then there's no need to talk, because now you are at a place of communing with yourself. And now you have a discourse with your thoughts, with your thinking, with that inner vibration. I call it living thought personally, because living thought is that which is connecting us all together as one in a unified field of awareness that can sense emotion, can sense a mood, can sense the atmosphere, can sense the vibration. So you can be in a place and you're not getting the right vibes in that place because the field of energy is connecting with your thoughts, your thought processes, and you get the spidey sense, the tingle, as just a portion, a space in this thing of peace and thought. But here it says you talk when you cease to be at peace with your thoughts, and when you can no longer dwell in the solitude of your heart, you live in your lips. So now we're seeing peace, of which you have escaped, and now the peace that should be in your heart, a place of which should represent solitude, you no longer are dwelling there, because even though life is in your heart and the mood and the vibration of the core of your existence is there, you can no longer dwell in the solitude of your heart. You live in your lips. And sound is a diversion and a pastime. So it's not one or the other, but it's both. A diversion and a pastime. One of the things that crosses my mind when I see this is when a person is grieving. And in grief, you cannot be alone and feel peace, because the solitude awakens the pain, and the pain begins to scream in a voice that is not audible but emotional, and it moves you to tears, and you can be in tears because you're living in the solitude of your heart. And living in the solitude of your heart, you can't stand it there. And you have to move, because you need the diversion of sound in order to escape the solitude of your heart, so that you can live in your lips. You got to give somebody a call to let them know how you're feeling. You got to give them a call to say something to them, to hear somebody else's voice, because that is just not where you need to be right now. But why? Is it that you're escaping something? Is it that there is something going on that needs resolution? Because the next line is this: and in much of your talking, thinking is half murdered. Okay? So, in much of your talking, thinking is half murdered. This means that your thinking processes are put to a place of silence, is it? It's put to a place of limitation. It's like, stop!
Well, that's when I think that when it talks about thinking being half murdered, what's really being spoken to is, you know how sometimes people get into I don't even know if you could call it a conversation or debate, and they are very heated about, or they're very passionate about what it is that is being discussed.
Okay.
And so people are not really speaking from a place of listening to the other person, but speaking from a place of wanting to be right.
And so they're not even reasoning.
They're not reasoning, and they're not listening to the other.
Okay. And so when they should be thinking, they're running off at the mouth.
Yeah, because they're speaking to speak, they're speaking to respond, not necessarily speaking with any sense of having any type of understanding.
Because the next line says, "For thought is a bird of space, that in a cage of words may indeed unfold its wings, but cannot fly." So they are doing just as you said. They are unfolding their wings just to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Without thought.
Without really giving.
Or going nowhere, right?
Right. And a lot of times, like my thought is that I don't like really engaging in debate. I will share what it is that I'm thinking and feeling, and I'm sharing what I'm thinking and feeling, and I'm not really looking to engage with anybody about those things. And if I am looking to engage, I will say, well, what do you think about this? I'll actually ask, ask a person, but a lot of times I find that when people are debating, it isn't really a debate to seek to understand one another as much as it is a seeking to be heard or to be right,
or hear themselves,
or to hear themselves. Now, and here's the thing that's really interesting about this. I think one of the things that I find challenging about it is that when you are talking, there are some people who seek to invalidate the experiences of other people. So I recall one time I was speaking with a person who I was driving someplace, and we were talking about prejudice and racism and things of that nature. And I recall I was sharing about something that Baba Ademola was shared, where he said that his experience had been that businesses that were owned by minorities were sabotaged, or something was done to that business in order for it not to succeed.
Okay. There was like an attack on that business because it was a minority business.
Yes.
And there was a deliberate energy coming forth to keep them suppressed.
Right.
Okay.
So I was just relaying, because this was his experience. So if that's his experience,
this is the person that was in the car with you in the conversation.
Well, I was just sharing that this was Baba Ademola's experience, and he was like, "Well, I don't believe that happened." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, really?
He don't believe what happened.
He didn't believe that the he believed that whatever his experience was, he felt that was more valid than the information that I was sharing about Baba Ademola's experience, because we were talking about.
Okay. See, I didn't want people to get confused with, because I was trying to listen to you, and it sounds as if you were saying that this was a confrontation you have with Baba Ademola.
No, no, no.
Okay, this is a confrontation
No.
you was having with the
Person
that's
that was
what,
in the
okay,
car.
gotcha.
Yeah, I was just relaying Baba Ademola's,
Ademola, okay,
shared.
gotcha.
And my
And
thought.
he was in disagreement to it.
He was in disagreement to
Okay.
the type of racism that
Was shared by Baba Ademola.
that was shared
Gotcha.
with by, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, I was like, really?
This guy don't have a clue.
Well, it's not even that he didn't have a clue, but he had to do, because he was black too.
Okay.
But the mere fact that you are going to invalidate what I'm sharing with you of a person who had their own experience and saying that the challenges that Baba Ademola had shared and why he was reluctant to open up businesses, because that was what the discussion was about. We were talking about black businesses and the challenges that black businesses face. So he shared what his experience had been with black businesses and why they didn't do well, and he relayed the idea that that much of it could have been like mismanagement. Now,
this is the person.
This
that's
is
in
the
car
car.
with you.
This is the person
Okay.
who's in the car with
Gotcha.
me.
So he was dismissing.
He was dismissing.
Dismissive of the experience that another had, and being dismissive of what the experiences of another. He wanted to make it known that his position was this, and this was more valid than that.
Yes.
Okay.
And I suppose my thought is that here it is that we're having a discussion about a certain topic, and just like right there, like any idea or thought that was contrary to what his experience was, and mind you, like, I would suggest, everything that I offer is more or less a suggestion, that if a person's experience is their experience, don't be in a place of invalidating the experience. You could just simply say, well, that has not been my experience. Because you don't know what path that person is walking, you don't know what they're doing, you don't know what you're saying. And the thing is that our words have so much power. And, the thing is that as human beings, I think that a lot of times we're not careful with how we articulate. We are not mindful of our sharing when we share with each other, because we're using our words as a weapon to cut others down and to invalidate their experience. What type of compassion, there's that thinking component seems to go straight out the window, because you are not being mindful of how you are using your words, and the possibility that there's a different experience just seems to be cut off in the mind, because you are experiencing what you're experiencing. But mind you, there are other people who are experiencing what they are experiencing. And all you really need to say, well, that has not been my experience. Let me share with you.
Right, and don't invalidate a person experience just because yours was different.
Right.
Okay, I understand. And
because now I know that there's a family member, that I constantly I will suggest to them that there is a different perspective than what they are sharing. But it isn't my desire to put that person in a place of invalidating their experience, but sharing, well, there's a possibility that there is a different perspective. Let me share this with you.
yeah, I think it's interesting that you said that there are people who will actually use words as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something for consideration, because people will do that.
Mm-hmm.
And ours is to be mindful as to whether they're using their words in this manner, not to also create the weapons, but to develop the shield that protects you from the tomfoolery of their lack of thinking. How's that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. People using words as weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody need to write a book about that. Think about that. The book, using words as weapons. So if I get to it first before you do, oh well.
Oh, you know.
But maybe Arlene to do it.
Be mindful of your spellings. With the spellings of your words.
Oh, that's another book. Be mindful of your spellings. Because what do you do with words? You spell them. Spells? Are you casting spells? Are you casting spell? No, you're just spelling. Are you? Or are you spelling words? Or are you using words as spells? That's a deep one right there. And you think we're just talking. No. The topic is, the scholar asked, speak of talking. So, the next section says, and I just want to reiterate if it has not been clear. Talking has a variety of purposes, is what's being expressed here. And many of these purposes are for good as well as not for good. Okay? So be mindful of that. And we're talking about a variety of levels of what talking may express itself to be through you, the individual, to another, or through what you are experiencing. So, the next line says this: there are those among you who seek the talkative through fear of being alone. The silence of loneliness reveals to their eyes their naked selves, and they would escape. So, there are those among you who seek the talkative through fear of being alone. That can be reflective of what I was sharing with the fear of being alone, because some people will commit suicide being alone, and they need to be around people, and they will seek the talkative so that their thoughts in their loneliness don't reveal themselves to themselves, of which they would rather escape themselves. And that can go into all sorts of rabbit holes. There's people who have been abused and don't want to be alone. There are people who have spirit attachments of which they can't be alone and they have to be around other people. There's people who will drink excessively to pass out so that they don't have to be alone with their thoughts. So they anesthetize?
Anesthetize.
Anesthet what?
Anesthetize.
Anesthet what? desensitize themselves through alcohol,
Define and
drugs,
anesthetize.
or what have you. And the anesthesia of drugs, alcohol, and even being intoxicated by the conversation of others aids them in not being alone and escaping their own selves. Okay? So that's something to consider when we look at this. For it says the silence of aloneness reveals to their eyes their naked selves, and they would escape. I laugh because there's times to where I know that there's people who say, man, I ain't sitting in this house, I'm going to the bar. Back in the day, I remember that. So, take off, go to the bar. And you turn up the music and you start blasting the music. See, nowadays, because when this book was written, there was no music to turn on. If no one had a lyre or a harp or a flute, you wasn't turning on no radio because the radio never was made. Okay? There was nothing to distract you from yourself. Now everything distracts you from yourself. It's called a diversion and a pastime, just like talking. So talking was that thing back in the day. Think about it. Talking was that thing. So now we're talking about you, right? You can't put down the phone because you're being in a place of diversion. You can't put down the phone because it's a pastime. You can't put down the remote control because you're watching TV. But what are these things doing? Talking to you. All right? That whole fiasco that's been happening since the beginning of the year. What are they doing? They talking to you. So it says, speak to us of talking. And in the era of this, the only way we had communication was to one another. Outside of that, you go out in the woods and listen to the birds and the trees. That was about it. There was nothing else outside of music. But now, the diversion in the pastime is talking through your cell phone, through your TV and the radio. Okay? So, when it says, and much of your talking, thinking is half murdered, well, now we have more things to murder half of your thoughts.
Oh.
So much more.
Oh, my goodness.
You didn't know he was going there, did you? I always got you.
Oh, my.
Do you care to expound on some of that?
Well, why I want to follow that?
So, yeah,
I mean, hey, if you guys have followed us for a while, I have talked about that and talked about that and talked about that, and not necessarily in those words that,
yeah.
Yeah, not necessarily in those words, but I've talked about the influence of programming, being mindful of what you do in the morning. It just, and start being, I think, autodidactic. I think that's the term for it, where you start that process of programming your own mind, because there's a lot of stuff, like right now,
propaganda is still alive.
Yes, and the thing that I find interesting, I think that it's great that we have so many more platforms to have our entertainment on.
Yeah.
So that, that there is less of this, the programming that is coming out of the Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's a little bit of a metaphysical property with that
Yeah.
name of that.
Yeah.
The holly is known for
Casting spells.
spells.
Oh, look it up. I'm telling you. It's a piece of wood that was utilized as the witch's wand. Okay? And they cast spells. Words, right? What do you do with words? You spell them. You want to spell a word? Oh, or are you casting a spell? Oh, see? I got you. I got you. Hey, brothers. How y'all doing? I see Rock, Michael, Lamont. One love, no doubt.
Yeah, so I'm saying this, because now we seem to be inundated with other images or other visual images. Like it's all you can pick and choose what you want to watch. You want to, especially now with the way COVID has changed up the way we are even operating. There's Peacock, there's YouTube, there's, Netflix.
Clubhouse. And Clubhouse, I wanted to just mention, I was listening to Clubhouse the other day, and the interesting thing about this is an app that is on the Apple platform. And the interesting thing about Clubhouse is it is all about conversation. And these people are going into rooms to have conversation. So let me describe what Clubhouse looks like. You go into a building and you see a sign with arrows on it. One arrow says, we're talking about love and peace. Another arrow says, we're talking about the smoke of life. Another arrow says, we're talking about drugs and sex. Another arrow says, we're talking about the love of God. And you can go to whatever arrow is pointing and enter into a room where there's only people there and all they're doing is having conversation. Okay? And so you sit down and you're listening to the conversation that is already in progress. And you are awaiting an opportunity to be sparked with a thought of which you can raise your hand and interject if by chance you feel it necessary to do so. But it is operated or controlled, if you will, by maybe one or two people who are moderators, which will allow the raising of hands to bring you to the stage to have your viewpoint brought so that others can hear what you have to say. So your 2 cents is valuable in this place. Even if you got 50 cents, it's okay. They don't mind, as long as it's all about respect. And that's interesting, because what I found about Clubhouse, which somebody brought to my attention, it's in its beta stage, so it's still experimental, is that it's an app that's taking us back to where we came from. Speak of talking, because that's all it is. You don't leave no comments, you don't leave no likes, you don't leave no recordings. It is all conversation. So it's so funny to see that the social media platforms have been developed to go back to the beginning.
Where people are actually engaging with each other.
Right. Yeah. And it's actually social interaction for real, and not social media, which doesn't really have it. Because there's been some situations there that things have gotten heated, and they have to bring it to a place of calm. And it's a very interesting platform. But the reason why I brought it up is because this section here says speak of talking. So the next paragraph, next stanza, let's go there. It says, and I'll just link from what was spoken and go into what is next. The silence of aloneness reveals to their eyes their naked selves, and they would escape. And there are those who talk, and without knowledge or forethought reveal a truth which they themselves do not understand. Okay? Okay. And she know I do it all the time. Yeah, but share.
Okay, so
We got almost 10 minutes.
all right. So Reverend Raymond, he apparently has watched this film that is on, I believe it's either Netflix or Amazon Prime, and he gave commentary about the film because he really felt that it was talking about law of attraction, but he had concerns about whether or not it adequately dealt with this particular subject matter, especially for those people who are coming from situations that are deeply troubled, abusive, that, people homeless, people who are having serious challenges. And so he felt that the film did not truly adequately address that. But the thing that's really interesting, again, with talking, I tend to be mindful about the things that I comment about, and I will just simply say, a lot of times I'm like, okay, I can't speak from a place of knowledge because I did not see the film, or I did not see the clip, or I don't tend to comment on it. But somebody commented on his post who had not seen the film and wanted to share or wanted to say that Reverend Ray did not really understand the concept of law of attraction.
And didn't even know the film that he was speaking on.
He did not watch it. He did not watch it.
So he was totally out of context.
He was so, you're giving a whole lot of, you're revealing yourself of,
of your ignorance.
Of your ignorance of the
information.
Of the information being shared.
Because this gentleman that Arlene is throwing his name out there, I hope you're listening. Definitely knows about the law of attraction.
Yes, he does.
Okay, and he, matter of fact, probably teaches it more than I.
Oh, yes, he does.
For this guy to come back and with a comeback like that, it's got to be ridiculous. So you talk about without knowledge and forethought.
Reveal the truth which they themselves do not understand.
And the truth here that they don't understand is that they don't understand the truth.
Or they really wanted to just write to write.
Well, the pontificating is easily done by those who wish to pontificate. Because they're pontificators.
On pontificating on what, though?
Exactly. That without knowledge. But there are those who talk and without knowledge and forethought reveal a truth which they themselves do not understand. Now, sometimes if you are in the right vibration, you will have a download of information. This is what I call living thought. And you can actually speak words that you don't even know out of your mouth. And it's almost as though there's an energy speaking through you to bring forth something that not only is coming through your lips, but to your ears that you need to hear and look into much deeper. Because the next line says, and there are those who have the truth within them, but they tell it not in words. Because action speaks louder than words. Love is one of those actions. They themselves who have the truth within them, but tell it not in words. Yet words is what we hear. But have you not heard the silence of an action? For the next line says, in the bosom of such as these, the Spirit dwells in rhythmic silence. That's what I'm talking about when I speak of vibration, when I speak of that frequency that comes. Okay? And you will speak as this platform we're using right now. As I am allowing myself to be open to Spirit, to hear what Spirit is saying, then I am revealing that also to you through what is being shared here in this book, because this book was written in 1923. Now, there's no indication of there was going to be radios or cell phones or television, but yet it applies to it because we have discovered that, and as it says in the earlier part, and when you can no longer dwell in the solitude of your heart, you live in your lips, and sound is a diversion and a pastime. Okay? And we've discovered that these things happen all around us. These diversions, these pastimes happen all around us. And they could be for your greater good or your greatest harm. So, the next line says, when you meet your friend on the roadside or in the marketplace, let the Spirit in you move your lips and direct your tongue. Let the voice within your voice speak to the ear of his ear. So we flip back to when it says that there are those who talk and without knowledge and forethought reveal a truth which they themselves do not understand. So now you're sharing with your friend who better understands what was revealed to you, and now you have a discourse, a conversation. You have an aha moment. I said, oh, wow, I've never seen it from that perspective. That's pretty deep. Let me give that some deeper thought. And then there are those who have the truth within them, but they tell it not in words because it's being formulated. And the form informs. And in forming that which is within you comes that time to where it becomes information that is brought forth to share with others at its appointed time. For this last line says, for his soul will keep the truth of your heart, as the taste of the wine is remembered, when the color is forgotten and the vessel is no more. Now, that's super deep because I consider myself a vessel, and I pour of that which is given to me. And our vessel is something that contains or holds something. And I know deeper wisdom comes into me. It's what I prayed for. It's what I am here for. And I pour forth this. Now, as a wine is poured into a glass, and you can smell the bouquet, and you take a drink, and it captures your tongue and activates your taste buds and opens your senses. This is something remembered. After the bottle is empty, or has been removed, or has gone to another location. And oftentimes we have people in our families who have been these vessels for us, our grandparents, our uncle on the other side of the family, a wise elder, or even a child that may have come for a season only to have shared the love that they are with this family and these people, but they did not stay but so long, and we wonder why they died in their youth. But this too is also like the vessel that is containing the wine that is poured out for you to taste of the fruit, okay, of the vine, all right, which is divine, because that's all life is, and it is poured out for you to enjoy the savor, that love, and remember it when the color is gone and the vessel is no longer there. Because that moment, that present, that gift was the present given in the moment of a gift from God because of life's energy being shared with you in that moment that you all shared in the talking. So the scholar said, speak of talking, and this scholar has shared as much as I could in regards to talking, because talking can be a very good thing if you allow your thoughts to be connected to your heart and allow the heart thought to be respectful and considerate of everyone around you, and harmonize that which has been given to you through the vibratory field of love.
So, this apparently this quote is associated with Maya Angelou, but according to what I'm seeing here, it's actually from a book called Richard Evans' Quote Book, and it's ascribed to one Carl W. Bruner, a high-level official in the Mormon Church. But it says, people forget what you said, but people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Let's say that again. Repeat the quote.
People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
How you made them feel.
And I recall, I believe I actually saw Maya Angelou say that to Oprah. But this is when I see that line that says, let the voice within your voice speak to the ear of his ear. For his soul will keep the truth of your heart as the taste of wine is remembered. That's what this actually means. You know, that people will forget what you're saying, and they're going to forget what you do, but they're going to, when you speak from that inner place of wisdom, when it touches the other person that you're communicating with, that you are talking to, they're going to feel that place in which what you are sharing with them comes from. And they may actually remember your words, but if it touches them and you speak from that place of inner wisdom, then the feeling and the communication of the love through what it is that you have to share will speak to their very essence, to their very soul. Because oftentimes, I think that people will listen, or people will communicate with you, or about what it is that they think. But there are going to be times in your life where it isn't really about what you think as much as it is what the deepest aspect, the deepest wisdom of yourself needs to communicate. So even before speaking any words, if you ask the question, okay, I know how I feel, because there have been a few times when my friends have done something, or they've shared with me something that goes along with a particular vision that they have of creating, and I may not actually like the visual or whatever it is. So I will actually ask my higher self, what is it that I should communicate here? And from that place, hi Valerie, and from that place, I will speak to their soul of whatever it is that the higher self is looking to communicate, through what the divine is looking to communicate. Because a lot of times, I think that oftentimes, because people tend to be frivolous with their words, that when you are in a place of what is the divine looking to communicate through me right now, in this right now moment, and not necessarily speak from the human aspect of myself.
So, speak of talking. Talking can be a good thing, or it can be a detriment, but it is yours to choose.
And from where to speak from as well.
When you don't murder your thinking. I thought that was like a serious line when he said that. he said, and much of your talking, thinking is half murdered. People, for really, stop doing that. We see a lot of people do that last couple of weeks ago. They murdered a lot of their thinking, and they're gonna have to pay for it because they're coming out after them. A lot of them are coming out. They're coming out after them. Times are changing. I was just thinking. I guess I'll just throw this out there because it was there. I am standing on a platform that says, "I am the king you never thought you'd see." Now, there's only a few times in your life you reach the age of 11. When you're 11. And then when the numbers reach above 55, because 5 and 5 is 10, right? There's no other numbers before that that's going to be above 10. Let me see, 47, right? That's 11, isn't it? Yeah. Now, 3 and 8 is 11, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is 2 and 9 11? That's 29, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you get to 11 before 29?
Yes.
Where?
When you do the regular numbers.
I already said 11. It's 11. The reason I'm bringing it up is because I'm going to be 11 next year. 6 and 5. And I will be the king you never thought you'd see. Matter of fact, I'm that guy now. But we're gonna leave that for another talking. So I think we're good for tonight, and we do appreciate you tonight, this morning, this evening, this afternoon, whatever day or time you are taking in this thing we share. So we can bid our guests good night. Hey, somebody else is there.
Hi, Darren.
Hey, what's up? How you doing? All right, blessings. I think we're gonna have to come back and check out the rest of this. But man, it's good to see you. He's one of my neighbors from long ago, when I was 11.
Oh, a playmate.
Well, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
Okay.
As a blessings. Wow. Yeah. Good memories. Good memories. So, with that being said, we're going to close out because we value your time. I think I looked at the clock here and it says 6:51.
Mm-hmm.
But it looked like it was 6:51 about 5 minutes ago. Is that right?
It's 7:09.
It's 7:09 now?
Mm-hmm.
See? Something's wrong with my computer. My computer's saying 6:51.
Mm.
It's 7:09. Oh, Pete, y'all have been so kind. We appreciate you. We didn't mean to drag you all the way into this. But all in divine order. Yah Arak, Yah Shabak, Shulamik, Shalom. I've been learning some things, y'all. True that. So Arlene's going to close us out. We thank you all for sure. Continued blessings.
We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. We thank God for you. And we know that wherever you are, God is.
Every Sunday at 6 o'clock we do this. And we almost decided not to do this because someone had called us to come forth to do something else. But we said, no. We are going to do this. And we have been doing this for months now. So check the archives. Because this is The Prophet by Kahlil Gibran. We're on page 60. And this book actually goes to page 96. So we're going to be here for a while. Peace and blessings. Namaste.
We love you, family.